What's up, amigos? Commander Jaime here today, and we're doing a V Premium Blue Wave Tetra-drive deck profile. And so I'm just really excited. I know all of us have been excited for the new Blue Wave support. So today I'm actually going to do a little bit different approach, but for mostly it's the same. We're going to go over the deck list a bit, some of the experiences and some of the thought process that went into this, and not only that, some of the pros and cons with it and what we could do moving forward too. This is I feel like a starting template, so let's dive right into it. Hey there, amigos. Quick sponsorship shout outs. So Next Level Gaming has the playmats available. As you can see, I have the Zorga playmat. It's super nice, really good quality too. There's some for the other units and characters from Overdress too, so if you're a fan of those, definitely check out the website. You can click on the description below for the 10% discount to get a 10% discount on your next purchase. So first off, I want to give credit where credit is due. So this list actually came from Zaleas himself from Access Vanguard, and not only that, Cypher helped them out with play testing and everything like that, so kudos to those guys. And really I picked his brain a little bit to find out what are some of the choices, and obviously there's some choices that stick out, and then some choices that just were obvious for most of us to figure out. And so I'm going to cover into those aspects too. And not only that, I had two opportunities to talk about Blue Wave. One with Meta Nerd. We did a collab, so I'll put a description on below. So if you like to hear more about Blue Wave and my thoughts, you can go to that. I did Proxy play with Top Deck Heroes, but currently at this moment it hasn't been published yet. So he's working on it, Philip. And so once that's out, actually out there, I'll put the link in the description as well too. So you can actually see the deck in action too. So we'll start off with the winning image. And so with the winning image with Tetra-drive, for those that don't know, what it does is that basically when it sees a rigger attack for the 4th battle, you can actually discard 2 cards and restand this Vanguard and lose -1 drive check. So you get a restanding Vanguard, which is cool, and it's expected because Tetra-drive actually already did this back in Limit Break 4 era, and then of course moving forward to the G era. It's just that restanding Blue Wave aesthetic, not only you're multi-attacking with rear guards, but you're also multi-attacking with your Vanguard in that sense. And it gets even better, which I think was really cool that Bushiroad did this. And the second part of that skill is that, at the end of the 7th battle, 7, you can actually counterblast 1 and discard 1 and stand it again once more. So you can get 3 Vanguard attacks. And I think that's really cool and exciting to have the ability to do so. And it's what are some things that we can maximize, do we need to give it power? Do we need to do some advantage gaining? Do we need to have a setup to get those number of battles? Because 7 battles is pretty demanding if you think about it. It's easy to get 4 battles with Aqua Force, especially now in V Premium we have the Excel gift, so you don't necessarily have to have a restander. You can just have 3 blanket units to attack and actually get to the 4th battle. So those are the things that really come to mind, and so that's what we're gonna dive into. So one of the aspects from this collection too is that we did get the grade 3 heals, and so the grade 3 heals, again, if you haven't written grade 3, you have these effects when you guard. So one of them is that your Vanguard would get 10k to the end of the turn, which helps with multi-attacking if you just want your Vanguard to be at a bigger base. Or the second effect is that you could choose one of the attacking units and -2 crit off of it. So even if there was something like on Force 2, you basically make it 0 crit. So even if it did hit, it doesn't do any damage. So those are the things that we have to keep in mind too, because if you do go to grade 3 first, even if you beef up Tetra-drive to a lot of power or your rear guards, even dropping that heal Guardian would just make it not do anything if you think about it in that sense. So just be mindful of that turn. But outside of that, the winning image is to help with one, hitting certain thresholds, because with Aqua Force, as soon as that damage trigger is hit, it can become, it makes your turn lackluster, to be to be frank. And so you want to make sure you want to hit at least 22k or 23k against Force, and then of course if you hit other thresholds, with the 5k and the 10k thresholds of that point, it just makes your winning image really solid at that point too. So you trying to set up a certain field where you can poke with certain attacks, have the Vanguard attack, have some of that drive check pressure, and then having the remaining rear guards actually hit a certain number in case of a trigger being damage check at that point. That's the typical best and safe way to execute your play, so that way a trigger literally doesn't stop you. Ideally you want your opponent to be at 5 damage so they can block everything at that point, but that's not always the case, so just be mindful of that too. So we'll start out with the grade 3s. So as you can see, we're playing 4 Tetra and 2 of the book of strong arming. So I'll start with Tetra first. Obviously you want 4 copies. If you can read ride that is much appreciated because it does generate another Excel circle, so it gives you more places to work with, so you can get to the 7 battle much easier. Not only that, it gives you the additional soul, which you will need with this deck after playtesting. The soul and counterblast are really necessary, so just having the additional resources is just super helpful. And going into the book, now the book, you know, you see this card and then it's like, oh wow, that makes actually sense. So what does it do? You know, it's Counterblast 3, Soul Blast 3, you draw 3 cards and then you choose 3 of your front row units and they get 10k plus additionally. So that does many things. You know, one, you generate advantage, which can potentially get you key pieces to work with that turn. And the second thing, it gives power to your units, so that makes those thresholds a lot easier too. It makes Tetra-drive even more threatening if you think about it, because it makes it a 22k. It does have a counterblast skill, where, you know, the Tetra-drive skill is that, you know, counterblast 1, give it plus 2k to the end of the turn. You can actually do it multiple times, just like the old one did. But it's kind of lackluster, right? So you rather use your counterblast for like other effects to like restand or do shenanigans, you know, or swapping in that case too, if you think about it. Depending on restands that you play and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like utilizing your resource to the best of your ability. One quick note with Tetra-drive, so if you do use the plus 2k, it becomes 14k, so it can hit you know, force vanguards too, so you can do that vanguard and rearguard circle as well. And then if you have an 8k booster like Propulsion Dragon that swaps into place, you have a 22k column, so that's worth noting. So the book, we play it at 2, 1 because you don't want to see it all the time. There's pros and cons to this, so it's not like a perfect deck list with utilizing the book. I felt like, you know, your opponent, one, has to give you enough counterblasts to use it, because it's 3 counterblasts, which can be pretty demanding. If your opponent's trying to finish you off the turn after that, if you survive that would be a good time to use the book too, because you have plenty of counterblasts at that point. The soul is something to be very, very mindful of though. So as you write up your 0, 1, 2, so you have the 3 soul, and then of course your grade 3 vanguard. And that's the only soul that you work with unless your rearguards either take from the soul, such as Tidal Soul, Terrific Coil, and so on, even the new grade 2 Kateria. Or you got cards like Coral Soul, or even, you know, if you play Narissa, that go into soul to actually help with that. So you have to find that right balance too. Because if you only have 3 in the soul and you use the book, you have no soul left. So you can't use like cards like Tidal Soul to do a restand and stuff like that. So you have to be very mindful of that. That's why rewriting helps with that too, because it gets you the extra soul, and then you can use book and a restander and be good to go without, you know, worrying it so much at that point too. But if you've gathered soul because of rewriting and then Coral Soul, you're good to go at that point. So just play 2 book at the minimum too, or at the most I should say. And, you know, looking back at it with the cons is that when you don't have those resources, book becomes a dead card in your hand. So for me, I feel like I want to change this up into maybe the new reprint of Pelagos. That might be a good card to use. I've seen other deck lists like Freedom Duo actually do their own video too and show some gameplay. That card actually does something. So it's, you know, when you're, I believe it's when your Vanguard attacks, it actually gets plus 5k and your Vanguard get plus 5k. So it's helping beefing up your Vanguard and itself too. So it becomes its own little mini beater in a sense at that point. And if you restand like 2 times, then you get 3 attacks or 2 attacks. So it's like 5k, 5k, 5k at that point. So it can help with that. So that's another grade 3 option to work with. Or you could just take it out and then add more grade 2s and grade 1s. So it's up to you at that point. And as you can see with, you know, let's talk about more of the rearguards before we get to the triggers. So with the grade 2 lineup, we see 4 Tidal Assault, 2 Terrific Coil, 3 of the new grade 2 Kateria, and we see also 3 Coral Assault and 3 of Hapalos. So we'll start with the basics. Let's start with Tidal and Terrific. They're both restanders. So when they attack, Tidal Assault, Soul Blast 1, it restands immediately. But if it's the second battle or more, it loses 5k immediately. So that helps you prioritize that first wave to get 2 attacks so you don't lose power. You can put this in an XL2 circle, becomes 14k, poke. Or if this is on a rearguard, you can poke a rearguard with a 9k base or lower and hit that out. And then if you have a booster, then it can be used as a column being boosted later on too. So you have that flexibility. And then if you need to restand in the later battles, Tidal Assault lets you do that. You may lose power, but it helps you get to those battles if you really need it at that point. With Terrific Coil, very similar effect. When it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 as the first wave, it'll restand, and then the second skill is that if this restood by a skill, it gets plus 5k. So this actually is really beneficial as that first attacker to get more attacks. So for example, this becomes 14k on itself, and if you put it in an XL2 circle, it becomes 19k as well. So you can start demanding more shield at that point. So you can switch it up to 3-3 if you want to, or use a different restander such as Algos. Again, it's just like a battle of resource management between the Soul and the Counterblast. So either way, just be mindful of that too. But these are the restanders that we're using, and I feel like Tidal Assault is just a lot more flexible. So that's why we're playing 4 here, and that was like Celeste's thinking as well too. I might try out 3-3 if I continue to play V Premium, but you know, as we tweak and stuff to improve it, it's just really gonna tell from that. And so the next grade 2 is obviously the new grade 2 Kateria. So what it does is that when it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1, give one of your units plus 5k to the end of the turn. And then if this card was on Vanguard Circle and it's the 3rd wave or more, you can actually draw a card. So in the early game, this can help you draw an extra card to work with a Soul Blast cost, obviously. And you could easily, you know, drop down a Tidal or a Terrific Coil to, you know, get those 2 attacks and then have the Vanguard attack, or you can call 2 cards to the rearguard circle and do it that way too if you want to. Keep in mind that, you know, using her skill and Tidal Assault or Terrific Coil will use 2 Soul Blasts to draw you a card and actually do some battles. So you might have some aggression, but just be mindful of the resources moving forward too. The card also can help with Tetra getting bigger. It can help with the rearguard, especially a restander bigger too, or it can make some nice columns. So if you think about it, if you have a 9k booster about an 8k, that's 17k. So having the additional 5k will make that column now 22k. So you actually hit if they get a damage trigger at that point, or just demand 15k shield at that point against like Protect and Excel clans. So I don't think it's mandatory at 4, so I think 3 is good enough, and I agree with this too. And it also has the Blue Wave name, which is very important with the grade 1s, and I'll cover that once I get to it. So the next grade 2s, we have Coral Assault and Hippolyta. So Coral Assault is our beater. So when it attacks, if it sees other 4 units rested, then it gets plus 15k. So it's 24k on its own. If it's on an Excel circle too, 29k at that point. And it's just nice to have, you know, you don't have to worry about those triggers again. And at the same time, if you did 4 battles or more for this turn, you can put it into Soul and draw you a card. So that helps you dig deeper into your deck, build Soul. And you know, one of the things that I noticed with Tetra-drive is that you are committing some pieces, and you want to commit certain pieces because you have column swappers or just swappers in general. So then your hand kind of suffers in hand size. So having cards like Coral Assault to be able to recycle themselves is super helpful at that point. Hippolyta is also in that sense, but it does more. So Hippolyta, this is a promo. So if those who don't know, you know, when your Vanguard attacks, you can retire this unit, give that Vanguard 10k for the end of turn, and then during that battle, if it actually hit, you can draw a card. So you can see that it has a possibility of refunding itself by, you know, retiring and then drawing potentially if you do hit. But the 10k is guaranteed. So that way you can make Tetra-drive automatically 22k. You can have multiple on the field and stack them. So you can have up to 32k and 42k, since I only played 3 at this point. And it's a unit that, you know, it just helps with that regard. So again, if you're already in the grade 3 turns going back and forth, this actually comes up. So they can't just drop a heal garden and say -2 crit or give their Vanguard plus 10k and just kind of like that kind of thing. But it's super helpful in that regard too. So Hippolyta is a really good card, and depending on the Vanguard attack, like if it's the first one and maybe the second one if they're expecting a third one, if they're low enough damage, they may take it at that point too. So it can put them in that position where they have to guard, which means they don't damage check, and at that point your other attacks can still have a chance to hit the Vanguard because they haven't damage check and get the probability of a trigger again. So that's big too. So I think, you know, that's the one difference that Azaleas did, is that he played 4 Hippolytas and 2 Coral Soul. I like the 3-3 split, so that way you get to at least see one of them by the grade 3 turn or the second grade 3 turn, and then just work with her. Obviously with our starter here on the very right, I just knock it out. It's whatever starter. It doesn't matter if you have a Blue Wave in the Soul and anything, so you can use any starter. I just use my SP Mitchells. It's just what I like. Going into the grade 1s, the grade 1s are very simple, but they're pretty effective. And so the biggest thing is because you can see there's a 4 Corvette from the Vallejo support. You got 4 Barragios back when, you know, Revon came out, and then you got 4 of the new Propulsion Dragon. And so it's pretty standard grade 1 lineup, 4 cards, 4 copies of each of these. So what does Corvette do on the very left? So what it does is that, you know, when it attacks and it hits, or the boosted attack hits, you can actually check the top 3 for a Blue Wave unit, add it to your hand, and then put the rest of the cards at the bottom of the deck. So that's where it can actually search for cards such as the new grade 2, Tetra-drive as well, and even the Propulsion Dragon at the grade 1 and Barragios too. So you can actually start generating advantage that way too. It has on-hit pressure, and not only that, but its second skill is that it gets plus 5k continuously if you have a Blue Wave Vanguard. That's really simple to do. So pretty much this guy is always a 13k booster or 13k attacker, and then if you put it in an Excel circle by swapping or something like that, or just placing it there, it's an 18k hitter on its own. So it does so many little things that it provides value overall. And if you put this behind the Vanguard, your Vanguard would not only have, Tetra-drive pressure, but if you did it in the early game as well, it'll have that unhit pressure too. So it makes the opponent even think to like guard early on or even some attacks, so you just don't get a chance to get advantage at that point. So Corvette has been really useful in that point, and I definitely recommend it. And because it's a 13k booster, if it boosts like a 9k like a title, so when it after the attack kind of thing, 9 plus 13 is 22k. Again, magic numbers at that point too. And because it's a booster, I'll cover that in the propulsion. But with Barragios, it's similar. So Barragios, if it sees 4 arrested rear guards, it gets plus 5k, so it's a 13k booster attacker, same resource, just different way to meet that condition. The other skill is that when it's placed from hand, you can check the top 5 for a grade 3 and add it to your hand and discard 1 card. That's big because you want to look for Tetra-drive, because obviously you need your Vanguard and you want to ride it for soul and generating Excel circles. The book is a grade 3, so that way you can start easily, like if you need the book or you can use the book, you can grab it and discard something else and then go ham right there. The new grade 3 heals are grade 3s. So you can grab the heals, and especially early on, if you drop this on Vanguard or if you drop them in the back row as a rear guard circle and you see a heal and you need to have a defense against certain decks, especially if you're going second, that is very key, very vital, and it's very useful at that point too. And so, that's really what Barragios does. It helps with that consistency, and then at the same time, it's a blue wave, so it helps with Corvette search too as well. And go from there. And then lastly, over here in the grade ones, we have Propulsion Dragon. This is the new card, and so at first I was not impressed with this card because of its skill, but I didn't read it completely and understood it completely. So what it does is that when it attacks at the end of the battle, you can counterblast 1. If you attack the grade 2 or greater Vanguard, you can swap this unit with any back row. That's what I didn't comprehend at first. I thought it had to be like on a rear guard column and then swap with the unit behind it. Typically what we've seen in Aquaforce in history, right? We always seen column swappers essentially, but this is any swapper with any back row. So you can actually put this on Excel and swap with a unit in any back row and put it into that Excel circle, and now that unit gets the benefit of the Excel circle as well. So you can start seeing that, like, oh my god, all of a sudden my grade 1s are going to be 13k at least and actually hit my opponent's Vanguard. Or your grade 2s can get enough power, like restanders like Tidal Assault, or your Coral Assault can become 29 and have it be a big beater. So you can start seeing the lines of play to help you with that winning image for that turn too. And if you put this on the Excel circle, it's a 13k, so it could actually hit the Vanguard by itself, because if you don't have it, then it won't hit. It just kind of like a miss. But obviously, you still want to increase the number of battles, so just be mindful of that too. And it's a great card. So one, it's a blue wave, and it's a grade 1 that you can use. You could also use it as shield because it's 10k shield against V era. So that's why we play this at 4. So it's just a phenomenal card actually, and it's generic. So if you want to use this in a different deck, like the old Valeos that came out, and also some of the other Aquaforce spells for free too. So that's a possibility. And lastly, with the triggers, I think you can go either way. I did 8 crit, 4 draw, and the 4 heal, the new ones. And again, the new heals are for the more defensive purposes against certain decks, especially you don't want to lose too much advantage in the early game, so that way you're not able to do your turn, which would suck. So that's why it helps with that, just dropping 1 card to potentially have a big enough shield for 1 big attack that you need to stop, or multiple attacks at that point. So definitely play that. And again, you are playing Barragios, so it helps you grab it too. The draw PGs are well appreciated. You can try to squish in Petros, or you can try the grade 1 PGs, but I highly recommend keeping like the Sentinels and the triggers instead of like the grade 1s, because you need space in the grade 1s and grade 2s and grade 3s. And then the PG is just much more appreciated because it's a draw trigger attack, and you do need some draw power because again, Tetra's skill is a -1 if you think about it. You discard 2 and then you lose a drive, so that's a -1 at that point. And then the 8 crits, you need pressure. It's really good when Tetra-drive attacks on the first time and it drive checks a crit trigger. You want to put it on the Vanguard if possible, if it makes sense. So now you're 22k base crit 2. So your next Vanguard attacks are threatening still, which is really useful at this point. So, you know, like I said, this is really what the thought process was. It helps with that too. I think moving forward, you can tweak it. There's the Nicolas Algos engine too. I think that's valid in this case, so you can switch up with the re-standards. For Lagos, like I mentioned, the grade 3, that's also a good choice for the grade 3 lineup too. You can increase the grade 3s. It has an Excel circle too, so if you need, worst case, to write it, you have an Excel circle to work with, but you ultimately don't want to write that. Not gonna lie. But ultimately, you know, I think it's a decent deck in V Premium. You just gotta have to learn how to play it and also manage your resources, and you'll see as you play test and you start appreciating it a little more. But there's some things that still need to be worked on. So this deck, I would say, is not like with the top tier decks, but it's like fun for casual for sure, guarantee at that point too. So with that, amigos, again, if you want to see more of the Blue Wave content, like discussion stuff, you can check out Meta Nerd's channel with the collab video that I did with him. Later on, Top Deck Heroes will publish their proxy play, so you get to see this deck in action. And if you guys, you know, have any things to share, you know, what are some builds that you're trying out, what are some cards that you're trying out, or what are some things that you're realizing too? I love to hear your comments. I like to have a conversation. And if you like the video, like it, you know, and then share with an amigo too as well, and then subscribe. So see ya, bye.